What band has had more sales than any other band next to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones? Rush. Let's listen to a little bit of Rush. This band is truly unreal. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why this band is my favorite band of all times and some of the lessons I've learned watching them over the years, studying them and watching how they have achieved their results over time. So good morning. I'm Louis Llanes, founder of WealthNet Investments. This is Market Coffee Talk. Here's my coffee. I hope you're able to partake as well. I'm going live at 8 a.m. and I'm talking about some inspirational, actionable ideas and the markets. So today I want to talk about Rush. If you go to Wikipedia today and you print out their discography, you're going to find a 30-page printout of work, of albums. They have 19 studio albums, 11 live albums, 11 compilation albums, video albums, music albums, solo albums. They've toured for 40 years together, and it's three guys. It's three guys that have been really creating these results this entire time. It's really incredible. If you think about it, they were inducted into the Hall of Fame really, really late. And the question is why? Why did the critics never really love them, but yet they had huge fans and had amazing sales? Well, it had to do with the fact that they stayed true to themselves. It's great. You've got three guys. You got Neil Peart, who is like one of the best drummers of all time. Any drummer will tell you he is recognized as one of the best drummers of all time. You have Alex Lifeson, whose guitar playing is so underrated. Like if you're a guitar player and you try to play his stuff, you'll recognize that he's basically playing like two or three guitar players at the same time. Then you've got the bass player, who is also the singer and keyboard player, Geddy Lee. Geddy Lee, I mean, the guy is like an octopus, right? Because he's playing the keyboards, he's playing the guitar, he's singing, he's playing with his feet, and all three of them play together. The drummer, Neil Peart, will be playing many different instruments. He's got chimes and all these other things going on, electronic triggers, in order for them to get this sound live. They don't play with a bunch of tracks. Like the guys that you see, you watch the Super Bowl, there's a ton of backing tracks. There's a bunch of auto-tune on the voice and all this stuff. No, these guys are raw musicians that just make it happen. Amazing stuff. So I wanted to just talk about 3 points when you listen to Rush and you look at how Rush operated. Point number one, they really were not afraid to be themselves, and they were not afraid to be different. They didn't listen to the orthodox way of doing things. When they got started in 1968. They didn't get their first signed deal until 6 years later. They were repeatedly told, oh, the singer's voice, I don't like it. It's too nasally. The music's too complicated. There was all these different reasons why they wouldn't get signed. They stayed true to themselves. They got fans, and it just became really, really awesome. So, let me just, sorry, I have a little error. Okay. All right, so I'm going to keep on going. So, but anyhow, so they just kept going with their own ways of doing things. They were never high on the critics list, but they had more sales than any other band, like I mentioned, other than the Beatles and the Stones, who have been around a longer time. It's really incredible. And if you talk to a lot of people, it's like a love-hate thing. You either love it or you absolutely hate it. They were true to themselves. They made music people didn't like sometimes. And they had big whiffs. I mean, they struck out on some of their records, but they continued to go and continued to evolve and not give up. The second point is they focused on their craft. These guys, if you're a musician, the stuff they played was intricate and it was tight and it was not easy to play. They were a progressive rock band. and it laid the foundation for many other bands and musicians going forward. So they practice individually, they practice as a band. If you ever listen to their record Hemispheres, they recorded it in this like castle out in the middle of nowhere. And it was one of the albums that take them the longest amount of time. They were so tight because they played all the time that they could cut a record very quickly, a week or 2 weeks. But they decided in Hemispheres they were really going to nail something that was really intricate. And it took them, I want to say it was 2 or 3 months that it took them to actually make that record. And if you listen to that record, you'll hear what I'm talking about. There's greats on there like Xanadu. There's just songs that are like, they'll always stay like past the test of time. The other thing about focusing on their craft is they always allowed themselves to grow over time. You know, if you listen to the way they were playing in the 70s versus the 80s versus the 90s, they always progressed and they always were trying new things, and they fell into their own styles. There's like different genres within their music over time, which always made them interesting and still makes them interesting. In fact, I was listening to an interview with Alex Lifeson, and a recent interview, and he's like, we're starting to create music again. Neil Peart, the drummer, died. And you may know that he had, I believe it was brain cancer. And that was a big blow to them. So now they're looking to regroup. And Alex Lifeson has been recording in his studio forever. And he's got hours and hours and hours of vignettes and songs and stuff that he's been creating over the years. And he's been thinking about actually releasing just that stuff for people to hear. Anyhow, so they focused on their craft. And so they had this technical expertise. They were tight. They're one of the tightest bands that's ever been around. I mean, you just listen to YYZ and listen to them play it live. Tight. They had a huge wall of sound. So point number 3, they really thought long term. You know, today a lot of people think long term. People are short term. They hop jobs. They don't stay in one career very often. They move around. They're not sure what they're going to do. There's a lot of short-termism, as my wife had just mentioned it to me this morning. And that's created bad products. I mean, you listen to some of the music that comes out, it's like it's stereotypically a certain way. It's like formulaic and all this stuff. These guys didn't care about formulas. No, it wasn't about formulas at all. It wasn't like some producer that did the same formula over and over again and used the same patches and the same bass player and drummer and keyboard player and all that stuff to make a record, or he just did a bunch of samples and just sequenced it and then put a vocal on it, auto-tuned it, and put it out on the market. That's what we're seeing a lot of. And no, this was real art. And so we need more bands like that, in my opinion. So they thought long-term. They toured for long-term. These guys stayed together for 40 years. You know, they had this amazing loyalty to each other, and their fans were long-term fans. I mean, gosh, I've been listening to them since I was 12, you know, so massive loyal fans, better music products that stands on its own for a very long time. They're not a flash in the pan, you know, they're not like a one-hit wonder. You know, there's very few bands that are not one-hit wonders. Another one that comes to the mind would be the Beatles and the Stones and maybe U2, and there are bands out there that are like that, but it's just an amazing thing. So the main point I want to say here, and I think these are the lessons that I've learned from watching Rush over the years, and it applies to business, it applies to investing in life, is be yourself. You don't necessarily need to always have to listen to the orthodox way of doing things. Think for yourself, think independently, focus on your craft and constantly improving yourself, and think long-term to create something that's going to last, that's not a flash in the pan, something that's real. So that would be my challenge to you. What you know, what are you doing to be are you being yourself, and what are you doing to better yourself? What is your long-term game plan that matters to you and to people beyond just you? And thinking long-term, it's just an amazing thing. So Rush is a killer band. So a lot of people don't like Rush. I'm a huge fan. So I just wanted to thank you for joining me. That's all for now. But let's talk more. We're going to talk more markets tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be really focused in on wrapping up the week. I'm thinking on Fridays, I'm going to just wrap up what's been going on in the week and be like almost all investment market related. But this helps us get the day started solid. Hope you're having a great one, and we will see you at 8 a.m. Bye.